Okay, I want to start off with a quote that a river is powerful because. Deborah already got that for me. Um, Super excited to have all of you here at the State of the River, and super thankful that you chose to spend some of your time learning about the Cape Fear River and the impact that the issues we're going to talk about today have on the river and the people of the Cape Fear River Basin. We've got a number of speakers that are here today that are going to share their expertise and their thoughts on the state of the river. But before we get into the presentations, I wanted to spend a few minutes kind of introducing the Cape Fear River and setting the stage for the discussions we're going to hear today. I wanted to talk briefly about the mission of Cape Fear River Watch, and I wanted to give a quick overview of the Cape Fear River Basin. So the mission of Cape Fear River Watch is to protect and improve the water quality of the Cape Fear River Basin for all people through education, advocacy, and action. And I wanted to spend just a minute kind of unpacking that mission statement because we've crammed a lot into those 20 words. So we protect and we improve. We are both trying to prevent future harm to the Cape Fear River and also trying to address past harms done to the river. And it's a coincidence, but a lucky coincidence, that this year is the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act. Clean Water Act, the country came together and we set a goal of restoring the nation's waterways so that every single waterway in the U.S. was fishable and swimmable and drinkable. And we're not there yet. But those goals and that idea is something that Cape Fear River Watch absolutely supports and works every day to achieve. We work on water quality, and we work in the Cape Fear River Basin. So we focus on water, and we work where we live. And so we know these issues, and we know the people here, and we know the challenges of the Cape Fear River, and we know them well. We do this work for all people. We don't just do the work for urban people or rural people or wealthy people or white people. We believe in environmental justice. We take a balanced approach to achieving our mission. We educate to change the hearts and minds of adults and tomorrow's adults. We advocate, including fighting to hold polluters accountable and working to put in place smart environmental policy. And we take action, and we encourage our community to roll up their sleeves and take actions with us, whether it's doing a cleanup, or monitoring the watershed in their backyard, or just getting out on the water to paddle. So this is a map of the Cape Fear Basin. For those of you who aren't familiar, how we kind of fit into the state of North Carolina. You can see the Cape Fear Basin cuts right through the heart of North Carolina. It's about 9,000 square miles, larger than the state of New Jersey. It's the only major river in North Carolina that empties directly into the Atlantic, rather than one of the big sounds north of us. There are over 6,500 miles of streams that you could put a canoe in and get in that canoe and paddle. And if you were to string all those streams together, that would be like paddling from here in Wilmington all the way to San Francisco, and then all the way back to Wilmington, and then halfway back again. So just a huge amount of waterways to explore, and a huge amount of opportunities for waterways to be impacted. About a quarter of the state's counties are within the Cape Fear Basin, 113 municipalities, 20% of the state's population. The main tributaries of the Cape Fear are the Deep and the Hall River, which come together in Chatham County right at Mermaid Point. That's where the Cape Fear River starts. As it flows down and gets close to Wilmington, the Black River, which is fed by the South River, comes in. Right out here, right there, the Northeast Cape Fear River comes in and meets the main stem of the Cape Fear, and then 28 miles down to the Atlantic is the Cape Fear River estuary. This is probably the image that many of you have when you think about the Cape Fear River. That's a pretty understandable thing. This is where tens of thousands of us drive over the bridge each day. This is where we might walk along the Riverwalk or go to the battleship. It's where you might take a boat cruise. This is the part of the Cape Fear River that made Wilmington so important, the most important and the largest city in North Carolina for much of the state's history. You see the port up here, there's the Memorial Bridge, Smith Creek down here. This is where the main stem of the river comes in, and there's the battleship. This is the part of the river that we're all really familiar with. But it's worth remembering that the Cape Fear is a much, much more diverse. It's much larger. It's much bigger than any of us can really imagine, 9,000 square miles. So from right here where the main stem and the northeast come together, down all the way to the ocean, the estuary is this amazing, beautiful place filled with incredible wildlife. You can see species of birds of every shape, size, and color. Lindsay could probably tell you about those. Even more species of fish. You could see bottlenose dolphin. You could see manatee even. 3 species of sea turtles are in the river. I saw a sea turtle just the other day in the river. Alligators, shrimp, oysters, all kinds of shellfish down in the lower part of the basin. And then as you started to go upstream on the northeast or the Black River, you start to get into a blackwater swamp, cypress trees, the oldest cypress trees on planet Earth, carnivorous plants, bobcats, river otters, black bear, a completely different ecosystem. And then as you went up the muddy main stem of the Cape Fear River, you'd start to see the river change there too, limestone bluffs. As you got up above the fall line, the river would start to move more quickly. The bottom would be rocky. You'd see rapids. That's the traditional spawning grounds of anadromous fish like striped bass and shad and sturgeon. The geographic diversity is what creates the biologic diversity. And we have incredible biologic diversity here in the Cape Fear. As you can see, all the way up down the east coast of the United States, right here, this hot spot in the lower Cape Fear, is where we have more biodiversity than anywhere else on the Atlantic seaboard. I'd love to show you these beautiful pictures all day long. Alan Craddock took this picture with me in an airplane once, like he's taken many of the other pictures you'll see today. But the fact of the matter is that it's not all pretty pictures. The Cape Fear River is the most industrialized river in North Carolina. Hundreds of wastewater pipes discharge into the river, from chemical manufacturers to power plants, from wastewater treatment plants to slaughterhouses, from landfills to paper mills. Urban stormwater from over 100 municipalities flushes into the Cape Fear River every time it rains, carrying pollution. Industrial agriculture has tremendous impacts as well. The Cape Fear Basin has more hog farms than any other watershed on planet Earth. North Carolina recently, just this year, became the nation's leading producer of poultry after several years of explosive growth, the greatest of that growth occurring right in the Cape Fear Basin. North Carolina's largest port, the Port of Wilmington, just downstream, has grown significantly, and along with that growth has come ever deeper dredging of the river. 100 years ago, upstream, 3 locks and dams were built to facilitate barge traffic between Wilmington and Fayetteville, and we are still feeling the impacts of those dams today. Development continues to pressure the watershed as well. The parts of the Cape Fear Basin that are so special, the wetlands and the marshes and the streams, the creeks, the coast, are where development pressure is the greatest as well. And finding a balance between those two can be difficult. And finally, and inescapably, climate change and sea level rise. We are seeing significant impacts. Sunny day flooding, larger and stronger hurricanes, and subsequent river flooding, increasing salinity. And what's more, the pace of climate change is increasing rapidly. By 2050, our watershed and this downtown will look significantly different than it does today. So the river is vitally important to the people who live along it. 1 in 5 North Carolinians drink water out of the Cape Fear River, and 350,000 of us here in this area drink river that comes from above Lock and Dam 1, just 35 miles upstream. People come here because of our natural resources. They stay here because of our natural resources. And of course, the Cape Fear River has an incredibly important role in our state's economy. So we have this beautiful river, this powerful river. But while the river is mighty, it is also fragile. You don't have to look too hard to find examples of a river in danger. Following Hurricane Florence, the flush of pollution caused by upstream flooding wreaked havoc on water quality in the river. Dissolved oxygen levels dropped to 0 and stayed that way for a month. The fish kills were staggering, as were the impacts on shellfish. Research from NC State scientists on top of the food chain species in the river, like striped bass and American alligators, shows high levels of toxic PFAS, and those chemicals are in their bodies and causing negative health impacts. And what that shows is that PFAS isn't just in our bodies, but it's in the entire ecosystem. Bacteria levels in the river routinely exceed safe standards set by the state, making water unsafe to recreate in. Long-term research conducted by UNCW scientists shows nutrient levels have been on a steady climb in much of the lower Cape Fear for the last 25 years. There's no scarcity of short-sighted development plans that would destroy sensitive wetlands, worsen stormwater pollution, and flood regularly. Climate change will only exacerbate these issues. So I'll wrap up my overview here at the mouth of the Cape Fear River, right where the river flows out between Bald Head Island here and Oak Island, where the largest river in North Carolina empties into the Atlantic Ocean. With all of these things in mind, Cape Fear River Watch wanted to bring together experts on a wide range of topics related to the state of the river. Scientists, engineers, advocates, attorneys, policy experts, all with a unique perspective on the issues we face as a community. Each of the people you'll hear from today have worked to protect and improve the Cape Fear River. Each of them have increased our knowledge and understanding of the Cape Fear River, and we at Riverwatch are incredibly grateful for their work. We hope that you will learn something today. We hope that you will strengthen your connection to the river through that knowledge, and we hope that you'll recommit to protecting and improving your Cape Fear River. If you want to get more involved, we have an outreach table outside. We'd love to talk to you about how you can do that. If you want to become a member or make a donation, we'd love that as well.